The Inside Maryland podcast series on the EquiRatings Eventing podcast is brought to you by Dubarry of Ireland listeners. Dubarry of Ireland, who are nearly 100 years old. They were founded back in 1937 and they have been working with the event themselves, and they've actually got a good number of very, very exciting initiatives at Maryland this year. So if you're visiting Maryland, put their trade stand on your list of must visits because you will not be disappointed. There is something for everybody. And they will also be supporting the horse inspections for both the 3-star and, of course, the feature class, the 5-star. One of my favourite parts of any event, I have to say, has to be that first horse inspection on the Wednesday when the excitement is there, the horses and the riders are on their toes. There's just a real buzz and a real kind of sense of anticipation. And there is also the fashion element, which Dubarry will be supporting with some very cool prizes as well. They have been involved in the eventing industry and been supportive of the eventing industry for a good number of years now. They've been title sponsors of the Dubarry Burghley Young Event Horse Series for, I think, since 2012, but they've been massively influential in partnering with other events, and their partnership with Maryland is a really, really exciting one for both the brand and the event as well. So look, go and check them out. They have so many different products that I am sure will take your fancy. I think I bought my first pair of Dubarry boots probably 15, 18 years ago, and I absolutely love them. I've been a firm fan of the brand ever since. They have some incredible clothing options as well, so go and take a look at that. Dubarry.com for more information, but we're very excited to have them on the Inside Maryland show for the next few weeks. And it is going to be quite the journey because we have got everything for you on the show, listeners, from rider insight, from behind the scenes and the build-up, the preview, the review, everything you need to know. Keep it locked in. Dubarry.com. Go and check them out. If you're at Maryland, go and visit the stand as well. Let's crack on with the show. Welcome to the EquiRatings Eventing podcast and listeners, another Inside Maryland show for you because the big week is upon us. We are looking forward to Maryland 5-star. And on this show, we are going to go behind the scenes with two of the big names competing there this weekend. First of all, she is the favourite coming into the competition on the EquiRatings Prediction Centre. She is a 2-time 5-star winner, Piggy March. It is brilliant to have you back on the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Can't believe I'm favourite.
I was going to say, I didn't mention that bit pre-recording, did I? 26% favourite, so pretty strong favourite chance. Take it. We'll talk about that competition in a little bit. But Brookfield Cavalier Cruise, the horse that you're taking over to Maryland, just introduce us to him. Tell us a bit about him, because he might be a horse that's flown under the radar of a few people, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But he's always been. He's a beautiful horse. He's a very big horse, but he's a beautiful horse. And he has had a few riders through changes of circumstances or whatever, and he has been a winner with all riders, which is a testament of the horse, his ability, his temperament, and just so far as just his genuine love for the job. And I am the lucky one, really, at this stage, who has got him back for this higher level. I did have him as a 7-year-old and started his first intermediates, that sort of level with him. And he did take time off. He had a couple of niggles and he took time off, sort of a year and a half out, and then spent a few months at Tommy's, Tommy McEwen, because we share owners, just to finish the season. And then at the end of the season, he did come back to me. We always sort of seem to move around a bit of numbers of who has how many on each, between Tommy and myself. And I was the lucky one that has had him back for starting his 4-star and now 5-star campaign.
It's a campaign that's gone very well. I mean, last year with Tommy won the 3-star long format at Blair, but this year he's come out really, really well at 4-star short format and actually went to, he won at Thorsby on your first run together at the start of the year, but then he went to Bramham in the 4-star long format, which was his first 4-star long, and finished a very, very good second. How impressed were you with him at Bramham this year?
Yeah, I was super impressed with him actually, and again, I didn't know whether was he getting there too soon because he hadn't done much. The spring, obviously, this year over here was, we had a lot of cancellations. We didn't get going till quite late. And I think I only ran him maybe a couple of times really before Bramham. So Bramham was a massive learning curve for us all. And I personally think Bramham is the hardest 4-star long that I've ever competed at or I've ever walked a course of. And so I always have in my own head, if you've got a horse that copes with Bramham well, they are definitely a 5-star horse, if not a Burghley horse. And it's usually, it's challenging on them. The terrain is undulating, and so they really need a good bit of stamina. But it's also, Scotty builds it, and it's a proper cross-country test. Big ditches, technical lines, proper big timber, and it's back to the old-fashioned way that you don't get a lot of these courses about. So, and he finished full of running there, and felt like a very, very quality, happy horse. So for me, it was definitely after that thinking, probably doing another 4 long might just be a step back for him, where let's try and find a 5-star that we hope would suit him. Hopefully,
fingers crossed. I was going to ask, why Maryland? It's your first visit there. There's obviously, a few options for 5-star at the end of the season. So what drew you to head out to the US?
Well, as I just said previously, I always think if you've got a good Bramham horse, you've got a Burghley horse. And but sitting down with the owners, I said I just didn't want to be greedy with him. I definitely think Fletch, we call him Brookfield Cavalier Cruise, his name's Fletcher, so we call him Fletch, is a Burghley horse. But he hasn't got very much miles to him, and I still think he's a very big horse, and he's still got a big frame to fill. And I just didn't want to be greedy with him too soon of just the terrain, and the undulations can be sharp enough at Burghley. When you cross capabilities, cutting a few times, you're down the bank, up the bank, uphill, downhill, always jumping on a bit of a camber. And I think we just chatted amongst ourselves to just think, I think that's 1 year too soon for him. I'd love to try and keep him for the future, and he's such a laid back horse, he doesn't need to run very often. So I would love to, just maybe give him a little bit longer. And then also Poe, they've been to Poe before with Brookfield Innocence, so they have already been there. So going somewhere new is always very exciting. And again, I was going with another horse to Poe, and Poe's great. It's a flat track. I think Fletch will suit any track because he's very rideable and he's a classy horse. So I'm not worried about the twists or the undulations to ride him. I just wanted to try and find the best place possible that was the most horse friendly of terrain and good surfaces to work on, and just try, and he's still a big weak horse. I think in next year he will be stronger again, and then I'll feel happier to do the slightly more, terrain-wise demanding on his body. So I'm hoping that's where we all sat down and got to, and I was just very grateful and excited that the owners sort of, it was mentioned with tongue in cheek of just like, have you ever thought about it? And the more we thought about it, the more sort of excited they got. And so, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's not every day you're able to go across to America to compete. So it's really cool and very exciting.
And it's been a tough enough year for you and for them really at the 5-star level, because Brookfield Innocent was going to be favourite for Burghley and he didn't make it there, which was kind of mirrored what happened at Badminton 2022. And as you say, they've had some success at Poe. John and Chloe Perry and Alison Swinburne, who own the Brookfield horses and Brookfield Cavalier Cruise. How much does it mean, touching every single bit of wood? I'm sure you've got every single superstition going at this point, Piggy, but owners that give so much to the sport, that actually these big days are so important as well, and it's a long old road. Nobody knows that better than you to get to the big ones.
No, it really is, and it's been such a roller coaster for them. Like you say, they've put so much into the sport, and we got, Brookfield Innocent is a real favourite of mine personally, and it's obviously been their first horse that's got to 5-star, and they also know how much he means to me and how much he excites me, and he's just been so close to getting to the big B's, which is every rider's and owner's dream, and especially a horse that could be so capable. He's on his day. He's my lordship Gruffalo. He's a brilliant horse to work with. He suits me inside out. He's a really sharp, quick thinking cross-country horse, and I can ride him fast, and I have so much belief in him. So it's just been so frustrating and sad when you've got a horse like him that is so near but so far of just getting to these great things. So yes, it's been frustrating and heartbreaking, but that is part of life and sport and horses, as we're all very aware of. But you have to keep looking forward, and they do have some lovely horses coming up, and it takes a long time. They buy them all young, and they do the journey with them. And so it is doubly exciting for them to think that they've done, own them from their first 100 level, first ever competitions, really, and watch the journey go up to this level. So I just hope, we all try the best as we can do, and what'll be will be. But, they deserve some success at the top level too, because they do put in an awful lot and genuinely love their horses and love the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to admit, I mean, John, Chloe, Alison, the whole team, they'll be out watching the horses at the lower level week in, week out, and all the way up to the top level. And I did actually say to you at the start of the recording, are they all coming out to Maryland? And I thought afterwards, of course they're coming out, because if they rock up to a muddy field in driving hailstone in the middle of March, then they're absolutely coming out to one of the biggest and best events in the US. So it's going to be a real team effort. I have to ask, you've obviously never been to Maryland before. So how much research do you do? Do you do your homework? Do you like to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit, or do you prefer to just take it as you find it?
I prefer to just take it as I find it, really. I mean, obviously we did ask a couple of riders who had been there of just what it was like, and of which, they came back incredibly positive. It's really worth the trip. They look after you really well. They look after the owners really well. It's really horse friendly. And so there was nothing, all the boxes were ticked of every aspect of it, really. And so, yes, you always do ask a professional rider who you know and trust. But other than that, you really, believe in sort of your plan and take it as it find it, and head down and get on with it, really, once you get there. But yes, obviously for the cost and the time and the effort to get over there, then we had to do a little bit of research just to check that everyone was going to be happy with this.
It's the same thing, isn't it? When the big, course previews come out before some of the big 5-stars, some riders love to watch them in great detail and analyse them and build replicas in the school. And others are like, absolutely not. I'm not overthinking it. I'm sticking to my system.
Yeah, no, I've never watched one or looked, flicked Horse and Hound at Badminton or Burghley. I mean, because it's so different. A picture just doesn't look anything like what it is, and I don't really like trying to practice, maybe for all the wrong reasons. Maybe, we've all got our own systems, and it's not what I do is right. It's what suits us all as riders. But in cold blood, try to build something that looks like what you might get it at an event, I think sometimes can cause more problems than just going, confident with your system and your training, and hopefully just staying confident.
That's what you've got to do. I would say, obviously, we've touched upon the fact that your favourite going into Maryland, which is brilliant, but he is a first timer at the level. So it's a very different test to anything that he's come across to this stage. How do you approach a 5-star with a horse stepping up to level first time compared to how you would have approached a 5-star with horses like Veneer Chimera, who had obviously been so consistent and had been very experienced at that level? Do you do it any differently?
No, but I probably go into it like I'm super excited to take Fletch here. It's a massive journey and adventure, and I'm learning the whole time about him, or I'm really, really interested in how he copes and what he'll think to it all. But, towards the end with Veneer Chimera, it's dealing with the pressure and the expectation. Basically, if you do something wrong, it's basically your fault. You've cocked up because she's was a solid 5-star horse and a very good cross-country horse. So you kind of go, live with just, relief when it's all finished that you didn't make a mistake, and you've, tried to just dot the I's and cross the T's throughout the week. Which with some of them, well, most of them really in this sport, it's really hard to do. And so I will very much go with a positive bubble of my own. I take each tiny bit, one step as a time, and I've got to be very much there for him. I will not let the end result overtake any of my thought process at any stage throughout the week on the go. I've got to stay in my own bubble, my own realistic bubble with this horse. I would like to try and get the very best out of him, the best out of myself, but just staying with him the whole time. I'm going to have to hold his hand at places. I certainly won't be just coming out of the start box thinking, yeah, there's my line, there we go. I've got to be there for this horse every inch of the way to make sure I get it right. He's not worried about this experience, and he can hopefully grow from it, and have a good time and think, yes, this game is fun, because this is also, it's not just about this week, but it is the future of him at this age and stages of his life. So it's important that I'm doing all I can for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And comes home with a good experience. In terms of your preparation, obviously stepping up to the 5-star level, do you do anything differently with his fitness on the basis that actually it's a little bit of an unknown quantity? Yes, he's been to Brahman, he's been to 4-star, but there's that sort of step up to 5-star. When I guess you have other horses that have been experienced at that level, you kind of have the benchmark from what worked last year. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. And they are all different. And I was actually today having a day with Ros Cantor talking about fitness. I was doing one of my Piggy TV yard tours with her today, and it's so fascinating the difference that we all find. Horses temperaments and how we get them fit or gallop them can vary so much, and I found it very interesting talking to her today. And he is a relatively inexperienced horse for this sort of level. To me, he looks and feels very fit, without being too hard on him to in any way think that he's got sore from his workload. He's a big horse, but he did deal with Brahman well, and I would say he is definitely fitter from Brahman now as he was. And so it is a massive learning game. I believe that he feels very fit and he's very well, but you have to do these things to know where you are, and it is a massive learning curve. So I've got to believe in the system that we've had and go, I will be competitive. That's what I'll try to do. His welfare and his well-being is at top of the list. But at the same time, I will be going out there to do as best as we can do. And I will learn an awful lot from this week of the things that I've got right and the things that I've got wrong and the things that I will need to get better. Or he might just feel that he was spot on and super fit and dealt with this well, but the whole week is going to be a massive learning experience in many ways.
Ian Stark is the horse designer, and as you say, he jumped brilliantly around Ian's Brahman track a little bit earlier on this year. You've jumped a lot of Ian Stark tracks over the years. What would you love to see when you're walking the course for the first time this week?
Hopefully not a 5-star Brahman. Otherwise, I'll probably be wanting to get on the plane and come home. But Scotty's been great. He's been a real cross-country builder. He's just a good, big, solid timber. It's clear for the horses, but it's brave and, attacking. It's not fiddly and unfair. And so I hope to see that sort of a track from him. It normally is. And so, yeah, I thought in places, Bramham, the water jumps at Bramham were 5-star waters, I thought. And they were as tough as they were walking Badminton and walking Burghley. If not, the first water at Bramham was definitely tougher, in my opinion. Hopefully it doesn't go tougher from that. But, he's fair. I just hope that it's bold and, rewards positive, bold, accurate riding that goes out there and really gets on with a 5-star and sets your horse alight. It's got lots of confidence and belief, and you're on good lines and get out there to make it happen. And it horses, relish that sort of course ridden, if they're fit and well and ridden properly and they're confident. And that would be a great thing to hopefully get out there and walk the first time and think, yes, this is exciting.
I always think Ian's courses, he's such a horseman, and he wants the horses to understand it, but he's not afraid of giving the riders a sleepless night or two. And I remember the conversations around that water jump at Bramham, actually, and there were plenty of riders like yourself, like Pippa Funnell, having some fairly meaty conversations about it. And yet, actually, when it came down to jumping it, you both jumped through it beautifully. And actually, it really did reward good riding and positive riding. And the horses came out of it feeling really, really confident as well. You've been over to the US 3 times. I think you've had a team gold in Trown at the Worlds in 2018. You've been top 10 at Kentucky. And you have been to the Worlds in Kentucky in 2010, I think with Jakarta, and went very, very well there as well. So 3 very successful trips to America. What have you learned from travelling over that you're going to be putting into practice this weekend?
I don't really know, really. I'm quite simple as long as I get into sheep mode and I have someone to follow getting onto a plane, all that sort of thing there. And I don't have to worry about any of the transport myself. Otherwise, I would stress an awful lot. But for me, it's just another arena, and it's just another cross-country course. And I could be anywhere in the world, really, and it doesn't faze me like that. So apart from just a longer journey, I am very happy to sort of go anywhere as long as I've got my little team around me. It will be different because there's not many of us there. It's just a very small pack from over in the UK of familiar faces. The Americans are usually super enthusiastic about us going over there or watching you, are very supportive or that sort of thing. So that will be exciting. And I feel I haven't been on a big stage, and I've had Tilly Bean at the 5-star for the last couple of years, but other than that, I don't feel like I've been an international traveller with the horses so much for a little while. So it would be nice to feel a bit back into that side of things. But no, I'll just get onto it. It's just another event, to be honest, and it's very exciting for us all. But I'll just get back into competition mode and take my little Madewell bubble with me over there, and take my little training over there for Fletch, and just same stuff, different arenas, and off we go. But no, I keep saying it, but we are all very excited to be given the opportunity.
That's the mindset to have. You'll be following Tom onto the plane and just letting him lead the way on that part of it, and then go and get down to business. In terms of travel and logistics and everything else, so we're chatting the Friday, the week before Maryland, and Fletcher has flown. He's landed, I think, by now as well, so he would be in quarantine.
Yeah, he's in quarantine and he is on his way now. The last bit, he arrives at the competition Maryland tomorrow, Saturday, late afternoon, early evening. I think if all's gone to plan, I get there on Monday, late afternoon.
Okay, and Amy Phillips, your head girl, has gone with him?
Yes, she has gone with him, but she met him at quarantine. They're not allowed to fly with their grooms. They have their own air hostess that are already on the flight as such, which concerned me a bit to start with, because you sort of hand over your very precious cargo with someone that doesn't know them at all. But I mean, it's their job and they do it with all of these horses, all the very expensive racehorses and everything. So they're obviously in incredibly good hands. But I was sort of a bit nervous because I'd have liked to have known that someone who knew him was with him. However, we were very well kept up to date of how well they all travelled, which is great. Everything very happy, relaxed, ate and drank well and all the rest of it. So I think so far it has all been, we've had nothing but good reports. The horses looked very good in all the photos that's been sent to me. Ames met him at quarantine and is really happy. She's walking her backside off the whole time whenever she's allowed to get him out to walk. I was like, make sure you walk, Ames, just keep walking. She texted me the other day to say, I've just done 5k or something at a hand walk. And I don't think she was overly happy about it. I was just like, keep walking. So I think she'll be quite pleased to see me when I do get there. But soon, once she's there, she'll be able to get on him and give him a few little hacks out and get him to see the park and get moving about a bit more and start moving. But it's just getting them back in gradually because they're super fit. And then they do quite a bit of standing. So you have to be quite careful of just, giving them the right feed at that time and all that sort of thing, and then gradually building them back into work and not working them too quickly because it's quite interrupting their usual daily routine and moving about much. So, we have a good plan to get him back and hopefully feeling good.
And who's heading out there? So obviously, Alison Swinburne, John and Chloe Perry, the horses' owners, are going out there. Amy Phillips is out there with you as well. Who else from Team March will be with you in Maryland?
Just Thomas. Thomas will come with me. We'll just follow him through the airport and there, and he's sorted out a hire car, and we'll go get the other side. He sorts most of my life out, to be honest. And he's someone to obviously drop kick around the place when things aren't going quite so well. So he has to be there at these bigger occasions. But yes, it's a few logistical nightmares because we are then straight to Po the following week, which is, I know a lot of jumpers and things do this week on, week out, but try to get all of our stuff of what we need, or two lots of stuff from Maryland and Po and my kit and all that sort of thing is it's taken a little bit of brain scratching, but I'll be amazed if I do 2 weeks back to back and I've not forgotten something, and everyone and everything and every bit of paperwork is all fine and good. We would have done well, but I'm quite looking forward to that side of things being over, and it has gone all right in that way. But we shall see. Not forgetting a saddle or a hat or something. I mean, oh God, I don't know. Something's going to be easily forgotten. But no, I
keep
just
the faith.
should do it. Yeah, keep the faith, exactly.
Keep the faith,
exactly.
Piggy. Yeah. It is going to be a huge week for you. Wishing you all the very, very best of luck. And I have to admit, he's a horse that I was unbelievably impressed with at Bramham this year. I'm so excited to see him go 5-star. So fingers crossed and watch this space, Piggy. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. We'll take all of that. Thank you very much.
So our next guest on the show is the one and only Boyd Martin, the first winner of the inaugural Maryland 5-star. Boyd, how are you, mate?
On top of the world. Thanks for having me.
You're very good. And you're very positive because we did a early preview of Maryland 5-star 2023, and you were right up there, mate. You were right up there with Luke 140, but the news is sort of breaking and reaching out to everyone, and it is disappointing that he's not going to be there. So firstly, look, reactions on that, how does that hit you? That's got to hit you hard.
Yeah, it's crushing. I mean, it's one of my favourite horses of all time, and he's bashed his leg and he's a little bit off, so we decided to save him for another day, which was heartbreaking just because I really had it all dialed in for him. But luckily for me, I've got a second ride, Contessa, she's in sizzling form, and I think she did Kentucky earlier this year, the 5-star down there in Kentucky, and she was good there. She was pretty green, and I had an epic crash on her a couple of weeks ago, which, sometimes that'd sort of put you back, but I think it's sort of woken us both up. We've had a couple of good cross-country schools and another event, and we're going into the Maryland 5-star with our tail up.
That's good, yeah. Fighting spirit. So with Luke, before we go into contest in more detail, is that one of those, it sounds more like an impact thing that, possibly if it happened at the beginning of the season, you'd still be looking at getting him back out, but just a shame it's probably back end of the season and it means this year's over, but hopefully nothing too major.
Yeah, it's one of those things though, like it's, when you go to these 5-stars, it's such a huge test of endurance and stamina and bravery and, 4 miles, and I'm sure Stark has built a monstrous track, and you just really want all cylinders firing, and to be honest, Luke's a young horse, and I don't know, he had a fantastic run at Lemoulin, and to risk him at that as competitive as I thought he'd be, I don't know, I just thought it'd be a bit crazy or reckless to run him. If sometimes they're a bit older, they're warriors, and they're but Luke's got a big future ahead of him, so I've decided to talk to the owners, and we're going to rest him up for a bit and come out blazing next season.
Okay. Well, look, back to the fighting talk. I love you. You seem pretty keen on Contessa. So, and she's had, got a 5-star underneath the belt already. Now, talk to me about this track at Maryland. And Ian's had a couple of goes. Is the opening track that you won around back in 2021. That was a different route to what he used last year as well. So, look, the cross country, it hasn't been massively disrupted in the first 2 runnings, but I think he's going to step it up. And how's that going to suit you? And what kind of a Maryland track are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like I was just spectating there last year. I didn't have one in the 5-star, and I think he got the time a bit soft, where people could take an option or go a little bit slow and still make the time. And I sort of know Ian pretty well, and I know that upset him a bit because he's such a he's a brilliant designer, and he, like any 5-star, you want the cross country to be hugely influential. So I haven't seen anything yet, even though I live down the road. But my gut feeling is that Ian's doubled the size of the fences, made it way more technical and difficult, and then he's figured out a way to slow all these horses down. Where I think Maryland's going to be this year a hugely cross country horse type competition. So I'm quietly nervous on Contessa just because it's a huge task taking a horse to a 5-star, and if my gut feeling's correct, I think it's going to be a very, very exciting cross country round. Okay,
well, your crashing fall that you had on, was that a national level? Or was that international?
No. It was at a 4-star short at Plantation Field about a month ago. So I don't know if you saw the photo. I did some acrobatics over the top of her, but lucky for me, there was another event next weekend, and she was very good there. So, and I gave her actually a cross country school this morning, and she feels like $1 million. So we'll give it a good crack.
She's pretty high up on our metrics in both, with regards to both jumping phases. There's a lot of first timers, a lot of rookies in the field. So she's got a bit of experience under her belt compared to some of the horses here. Very good show jumper on ratings. Can you get her into the 20s? Can you start in the 20s in a 5-star test? What do you reckon there?
Well, I hope so. I've been working hard at now. I've had a bit of a hiccup when my wife's been pregnant. Now she usually tunes them up a bit for me in the dressage. So
the secret weapon is out of action.
It's been out of action. It's been a bit of a nightmare. So I've been having to put the yards in myself. Bettina Hoy's been helping me a lot virtually, and Silver's been trying to cheer me up, and was it 6 months ago since Kentucky? So she's definitely much further along. If the dressage judges are generous, we'll be around the 30 mark.
Do you so you use Zoom and stuff like that with Bettina? Do you? And yeah, it's good.
Works out really well. I do it a couple of times a week. Where she comes to America a couple of times a year and hangs out for a couple of days, and rides the horses and coaches me, and so she knows each horse. And then in between, I have an earpiece and my groom sort of standing in the middle of the ring on FaceTime, and it's not quite as good as a real-time lesson, but it's not far off it, because she's so familiar with the horses. And I've been lucky enough to compete overseas a bunch this year, and when I'm, at Lemoulin or Burghley and hopefully Po next week, I link up with her there. And so it's amazing, the technology these days where you can, I don't think it would work as well for cross-country and show jumping, just because you've got to be there in the moment, and it's hard to see like the real small details.
And the quality of the picture, I do a bit of it here because I'm, remote here in Ireland, and but I find in a small indoor arena, when you're confined to a space, and you got someone standing in the middle of the arena with the phone, the coach gets a really good picture, and actually it feels like 95% in terms of what you get out of it. And it's always a big problem, I think, that everyone faces in this sport, that for us to get tuition, you're not just putting your golf clubs in your car and going down the road, or your tennis racket or whatever. You got to move a horse and trailer, and access to coaches and everything can be hard. So it is one of the positive fallouts of COVID, I reckon, is that we all tweak this, and we've continued to do it. But yeah, I think holding a phone out in front of you when someone's galloping 400 meters away across a field is going to be difficult enoh. Yeah.
And I think the last point on that is the consistency. Being able to train with a top level trainer on a weekly basis is way more beneficial than a random intense 2 or 3 days when you drive all the way to their place or they fly out to see you. And so I think the consistency of the training of just checking in with them once a week and then working away at those ideas and those what we've been working towards, and then that's sort of the big thing I've found with Bettina this year, especially is just this continuous monitoring of your training.
Yeah, keep it on top of it all. So that's the first phase sorted. Bettina's gonna got your main secret weapon is out of action, but you've got Bettina's backup. So we're going into the 20s. Are you going to be fast enough? That's my next question. Are you going to be fast enough?
Yeah, well, this is the hard thing with Contessa. Once you start getting fast, it gets a bit sketchy then. So I've got to.
Are you really blaming Contessa for that? Are you? Are you not going to take that on yourself?
Once you start getting fast, the old Contessa stops thinking clearly. So I got to sort of walk that tightrope of riding as fast as I can, but then getting her settled down for the fences that she can jump them in a good way. She doesn't like to slow down too much in front of the jump, and one of the challenges I've had is like trying to slow down close to the fence without getting in a big wrestling match with her.
Take us back, Boyd, to 2 years ago and winning this 5-star. I mean, a lot of people might not know that you won a 5-star back in Adelaide as a very young man back in, I want to say 2003.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have been a teenager, so young and fresh-faced looking. But I mean, talk to us about that. Like, did you? And it was big for the US at the time. I mean, Tammy's only just broken that. It was about a 15-year gap between Philip winning Kentucky back in 2008 and then Tammy winning Kentucky this year in 2023. But your win was the first for the US in a long time. Talk us through that, like that week, what it meant to you personally as well.
Well, like you said, I mean, I won my first one when I was 23, and it was a long format back then. And honestly, it goes to show. Like I thought, this is easy. I'll do this every year or every couple of years, and it was I'd worked so hard and got so close so many times again and again and again, and it was I wasn't expecting to win it, to be honest. I was third going into the show jumping on cue, and she's not a reliable show jumper, and I was up against Tim Price and Oliver Townend, who were on incredible jumpers, and I snuck out somehow a clear round, and then the stars aligned where those boys clunked one, and it was I don't think it was a defining moment in my career, but it was just a huge. I think it was 18 years of trying before it happened again, and I didn't realise when I was 23 years old of how freaking hard it is to produce horses to this level, and then once you get them there to be competitive or in a place where you can try and win one, and just thousands and thousands of hours of training and practice, and many broken bones and setbacks, and going close over and over and over again, and it was just a huge relief to do it, and to do it in America in front of the American crowd was awesome, and just great memories, and super horse, and moments in time which you'll never ever forget.
It strikes me, the way you talk about, your training, the way you've just talked about through that as well. It feels to me you've got, your 2 feet on the ground, very switched on about what top sport is like. There's going to be ups and downs, and you've just got to grind it out. But 2 things strike me. You're number 3 in the world right now. And I don't think I've ever seen a US team, particularly, in these last couple of decades, that's ever had as a good, looked as strong. And we're going into Paris with this 3 from 3 format, which really does throw the door open. And you're the reigning world silver medalists. You could be thinking, I think from a US point of view, you could be thinking gold medals you'd be entitled to. And from a personal side of it, number 3 in the world. Do you allow yourself to sort of start dreaming of being world number 1 and being Olympic champions and having gold medals and stuff like that? Like, is there a little bit of that side still flickering away, or how do you approach the sport and what's going through your head at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in my prime, and I'm in a great place now where we've got owners behind me that are buying some amazing horses, and it just takes years and years and years of practice and training to get to this level. And like you said, my goal is to be number 1. By saying this is a humbling sport, as you know, and I, you think, okay, number 3 in the world, and you've got 5 or 6 5-star horses, you should be a shoo-in for the Olympics, and that's definitely not the case. With horses, anything can go wrong. America looks megally strong at the moment. We've got unbelievable riders, great horses. It's going to be a huge fight to get on the Olympic team, and so it's going to be a real push compared to when I first changed my nationality to America. Australia was really, really strong, and America was in a weaker phase of their sort of time, and now it's sort of reversed a bit. But I kind of like that. I think it definitely keeps you striving. I mean, not to ramble on too much, the thing that sort of really spurs me on is the 5 stars, winning Badminton or Burghley or Kentucky or Lemuel and Poe, like that's at the top of my list. And I feel like with that mindset, Olympic teams should come from that performances. But I also don't want to sort of, 3 people every 4 years get to represent the country go in the Olympics. So the chances of that happening are pretty low. And I'm not really thinking about the Olympics at the moment. I'm thinking about, a handful of horses I got now. We've got to do really, really well here at Maryland. And last weekend we had a good 4-star long run at Morven Park, and next week Poe, and then we've got to regroup and make sure the horses are healthy for next year, and really, try and come out blazing at Kentucky or Badminton, and see where all the cards fall from there.
Who's going to Poe, Boyd? Looking ahead quickly.
Fetterman B, Bruno. Okay. He had his first 5-star at Lemuel, and he was very good. I think he finished 7th or 8th or something like that, and he's improved substantially since then. But then I saw the list for Poe, and holy hell, there's some good horses and riders going to that one. So it's going to be tough.
Keep the world number 3 on his toes. But you've look, it's interesting. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with it's great when the team is flying high. It's great because you know that when you do go to that championship, you're going to be right there fighting for a medal. But as you say, even the number 3 in the world trying to get into the top 3 in the US right now it's tough, which is, I guess, where you want it to be, but it's also a tall order. So you're looking ahead to next year and the 5 stars and all this, that planning ahead. But Contessa, what sort of path do you see her? We got Maryland this week, and is she more falling into the out and out sort of badminton Kentucky 5-star mold, or is this a potential Olympic horse as well going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think she continually keeps improving. She's a very, very good show jumper. The dressage is again improving, getting better and better. So, I mean, I don't like to come to these things saying I want to place here or win it, or I think the big thing for me is a personal best performance. Of trying to really get as best dressage out as I can, and then again trying to walk this tightrope on cross country day of being fast and efficient and keeping her on her feet and making sure that she makes the trip and I suppose if I get to the show jumping in a good place, she's a good chance. She's only had 1 or 2 rails in her career that I can think of, and she's a very good show jumper. So we'll see what happens.
Boy, before I let you go, you mentioned that the family's about to get bigger. Congratulations, but it's already pretty big. Talk to us about that. Juggling the family and all of this international gallivanting around the world as well. You're doing a good job there, mate.
Yeah, it's tricky, eh? Like I think to be very, very good at this sport, you have to be completely obsessed with it. And when I say obsessed, you've got to, be focused and a little bit selfish. And every weekend it seems like I'm competing at another show, and it's bloody hard to balance being, present and with the family. And, I've got a couple of kids that are young now that are doing their sports, and it's bloody hard, of trying to sort of be part of, be part of their life and continue chasing this dream of being a champion 3-day event rider. And, I think my family get it. It's very, very demanding. And, I think the biggest change is I used to, work until it was dark every night. And now I try and make sure I'm finished up by, sort of 5 o'clock. And then, I go to the kids' training, they could play football and hockey and all that. And then also trying to make sure in November and December and a bit of January that you're super dad, that you're blocking off time and making sure that we owe so much money with the farm, and that is you get baited into just teaching clinics and racing around trying to make money the second you don't have a huge competition schedule. So it's bloody hard balancing act. But then I don't know, like both my parents were professional athletes, and I just remember seeing how my dad's dead now, but how hard he works, of growing up and just seeing of how hard he pushed himself work-wise. And, and part of me hopefully is that, justifying that we're hopefully providing a good opportunities for the kids. And, we live at the farm. So, during the day they're, running around the farm, and it is sort of not, luckily for us, not sort of at a different place to where you live. So I think that, not to overanalyze it, I think it's a bit more streamlined now where I don't do much teaching anymore. I thought that was quite time consuming, even though it's profitable here in America, a lot of outside coaching, but it just takes hours and hours and hours. And then, I'm not riding as many just crummy horses anymore, where at the beginning when I was getting started, it was just huge numbers of just horses that weren't that good. And now it's lovely to be able to pick and choose a little bit the top horses to ride, and and not try and not be at every competition every weekend, but I'm still trying to figure that out.
Busy Boyd. But no, you're setting a great example. I think that's the other thing, that's sometimes a great gift. You mentioned your parents. What sports did they play?
So my mum was a speed skater that went to the Grenoble Olympics for 3,000 metres, and my dad was a cross-country skier. And obviously by the time I was growing up, they they were retired from their sport, but they had a book business selling school books, and it was a tough business, and it was 6 or 7 days a week, and then they were very encouraging for us to play competitive sports just because of their sort of upbringing. And just to go back, it's like you also see a lot of other parents that do a Monday to Friday job and sit on the couch and drink a case of beer watching TV, you know what I mean? Like, and they're not present either with their kids. So even though they're around a lot more, I think, I've thought long and hard about this is the moments you are available to them, that it's super duper time. It's not just, you're not just living under the same roof. So like you said, mate, it's a bloody tough juggling act, but it's the path was chosen, and I also don't want to half do this sport, if you know what I mean. Like I want to be all in, and I want to try and be the best. And I feel like I'm just hitting my prime now, and so it's sort of like you said, it's a juggling act and trying to put as many hours into the training as you can. Then on top of that, making enough money on the side to pay for all this stuff, and then thirdly, being a good dad.
Well, boy,
I think husband, yeah, too. I'm an amazing husband, though. I didn't even mention that to anyone listening. Like, you couldn't get a better husband.
Self-praise,
romantic, always there. You know what I mean?
I've seen it. I've seen it in action.
Yeah,
she's
she's a very, very lucky girl, Silver.
And you're in so much trouble.
Landed on her feet. She hit the jackpot.
Good man, Boyd. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. As always, the very best of luck with Contessa at Maryland this week. And for the rest of the season, there's not much left. And I am looking forward to seeing videos of Super Dad, Boyd's Super Dad.
There you
action. Go. Awesome. Have a great week, mate.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Cheers, Boydie.